My name is Sari van Pooyen. I'm the Director of Team Agility and Intact Academy. In Team Agility, we're specialized in agile business innovation. We help businesses innovate their business more quickly than their products so that they can get to market on time. Within Intact Academy, I've been training coaches and consultants for 35 years to innovate businesses. You can find the information on our websites, teamagility.com or intactacademy.com. In these blogs, I've been talking about my ideas about coaching and consultancy and the development of systems and leadership. And now I'm really fascinated in this Corona time about the development of autocratic systems. Will we be able to hold on to this change of paradigm from individual responsibility to collective responsibility? Unfortunately, in the world, you see a split. You see either people go back to the normal or they create something different. Either you see a reestablishment of democracy or a reestablishment of autocracy. And in this blog, I'd really like to talk more about the establishment of autocratic systems. In the last blog, we talked about the 5 stages of their development. And in this blog, I'd like to talk about how can you prevent this happening? Well, how can we encourage democratic systems instead of autocratic systems? Well, one thing what you see is that an autocracy is established on the basis of a crown crystal. So there's a really close dependency system between the master and the followers. The followers join a master in a sect or an autocratic system because they have unmet needs. They have unmet needs for structure, but also for recognition. And in a sect, unfortunately, the structure is high and the recognition is high. So if you do something to please the master, you're sect for life because you belong. One way to create a more democratic system is to make sure that the people, that we have filled our tank with enough recognition that we don't need to get it from someone else. So the basic rule of relationship is you have to find someone who wants you, not someone who needs you. And that is really one of the rules for creating democratic systems as well. In a democratic system, people want to belong. They don't need to belong. So if we can find a way to diminish the unmet needs in a population, then we can create more autonomy in a system. So that's one way to make sure that there's more democracy than autocracy. The second thing is that in an autocratic system, the boundaries are closed. So people can come in, but they can't go out. And so one thing that's really, really important to keep that democracy, that democratic energy flowing, is to keep the boundaries permeable. So what's really, really important is that even in a state of emergency, you keep the information going in and out. You keep people going in and out. You keep money flowing in and out. Because if you don't allow that movement, then a system becomes stagnant, and any stagnant system there's a danger of autocracy. So keeping the permeability of boundaries, even in crisis, is a very important rule to keep democracy going. The other thing to keep the difference between democracy and autocracy is how you deal with the police force. Now, this is a very actual kind of theme at the moment because we see all these protests because of the murder of George Floyd by the police in America. And what we see in an autocracy is that you really see the police acting as the arm of the law, an extension of the master. And they mix moral police with military police. And you see that. In actual fact, you're seeing that now in the United States. They are calling in the military police for an internal struggle, which is a typical sign of autocracy. Very unfortunate. I have compassion for my American friends. So one of the really important things to keep a democracy going is to keep the police in a humane position where they are the third party in maintaining law and order. So not an extension, but in some ways, an independent upholder of morality and law. Of law. Morality is a different question. I'm not sure the police should be busy with that. The last thing that is really important for the difference between autocratic and democratic development is one thing in the Constitution. This is really weird. If you look at the constitutions of autocratic systems, it reads the same way as a democratic constitution. There is just one difference, and that is that in a democratic constitution, there is always a clause how you can change the constitution. In an autocratic system, that's the one clause that's missing. And you can see that. So I lived in Hungary for 27 years, in and out, and I saw the establishment of, the Iron Curtain had just fallen in 92. I saw the establishment of democracy, and I saw now the re-emergence of autocracy with Orban and Fidesz. And what you see is that Orban, the first thing he did was he banned the first parliament. Like in Holland, we have a second and a first parliament. The second parliament proposes law. The first parliament, can amend it or ratify it. Well, he banned the first parliament so that he could pass laws himself through the second parliament, within a week almost. So that's one way he did it. The other thing he did was that he changed the constitution. And you see that in Hungary and you see that in Russia as well. They changed the constitution so that they can become leaders forever. So instead of, democratic elections every 4 years, they changed the constitution so that that's not possible. And they also make the changing of the constitution almost impossible. So that's really a very strong thing. In any system that has to stay democratic, you have to make sure that there's a clause how to change the constitution. The other thing, of course, what you can do is your leadership. So that's the last thing I really want to talk about, is that if you want to maintain democracy as a leader, you have to discourage dependency and encourage autonomy. So anytime someone says to you, oh, you're the only one, oh, I came because of you, it's really important to push people back in a way with kindness and say, it's your decision. You have a right to decide. Within this framework, this is your way to do it. That's not my job as a leader. I can decide what, but how is your decision. So I think we have, as responsible members of any society, we can actually encourage democracy as well. It's not just the leaders of our state who can do that. This being said, I really, really encourage you to be democratic, to accept differences, and to accept diversity in your communities, and to encourage autonomy.